Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would ask that you please take your seats. And at this time, I'd like to call the Pennsylvania State Veterans Commission. This meeting of 6 January 2023 to please come to order. And at this time, if you would please turn off your cell phones and other electronic devices so as not to interrupt us during the meeting. That would be appreciated. And for everyone's information, this commission meeting is being recorded, and by continuing to participate either in person or telephonically, you are consenting to recording. I'll now call upon our Vice Chairman, Mr. David Isley, to lead us in a reflective moment of silence. Please stand and uncover.
Hope on our fears, what our hopes and our dreams. Think not about our frustrations, but about our unfulfilled potential. We have much work to do for Pennsylvania veterans families. Let's not concern ourselves with what we tried and failed in, what is still possible to do. Now is the time to set aside past and present setbacks and failures and work together, looking with confidence for the new day called tomorrow. Connor?
And again, flag of our country in place and salute. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, at this time, we will now have the introduction of the commission members, and we'll start to the left here with Jerry Hawk and the Ambets.
Happy New Year, everybody. It's good to see you all again. Jerry Hawk, Executive Director of Ambulance. Morning, everybody. Welcome back. Looking for a successful year. My name is Brian McDonald, State Commander, Ambulance.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Henry Runella, State Commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. It's good to see everybody, and we don't have any snow out there, so that's a good thing at this time of year.
Morning, John Getz, Veterans Foreign War Department, Pennsylvania, Ivan Quartermaster.
Morning, happy new year to everyone. My name is David Guy. I'm the state adjutant for the DAV.
Morning, everyone. David Isley, I'm the Directors Association.
Morning, Bob Heister, weekly benefits, after surviving spouses and veterans of all.
Morning, Larry Duggins. I'm the President of Vietnam Veterans of America, the Pennsylvania State Council.
Morning, I'm Chris Fiddler, Legislative Director for the Keystone Chapter of Paralyzed Veterans of America.
Good morning, Dave Brady, Commandant, Department of Pennsylvania Marine Corps.
Morning, Constance Snavely, Korean War Veterans Association, this time.
Morning, Phil Arnold, Senior Vice Commander with Military Order with Purple Heart.
Morning, Woody Hogan, Adjutant of the American Legion.
Morning, Craig Wilhelm, Commander, Pennsylvania American Legion. Happy 2023, Michael Brooker, Member at Large.
Lisa Kay, Member at Large.
Tim Lazard, our 4 Director.
Mark Ferraro, Executive Deputy Secretary of the NBA.
Maureen Weigel, DAG BA, happy 2023.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Nick Taylor, the State Veterans Commission and State Commander of the Catholic War Veterans. I hope you all had a happy holiday, and it's good to see everybody again. So thank you for being here today. And if we could please have the personnel on the phone, please identify yourself for the record. Who do we have online? Dave Cowgill, thank you, sir. Try again.
You got me, Charles Jackson, Member at Large.
All right, Charles.
William Malcolm, Ron Veterans Association President.
Hey, William, thank you, sir. Hey, Albert, thank you.
Christy Rowley with the Clearinghouse for Military Family Radio.
Hey, good morning, Matt.
Jennifer Hageman, I'm Veteran Affairs.
Hey, Jennifer, good morning.
Joe Nitzley, the MBA Communications Director.
Hey, Joan, good morning.
Morning. Jennifer, oh, good morning, Jennifer Spitler, Pennsylvania Department of Military Veterans Affairs.
Hey, Jennifer, okay.
My name is Ronald Jan. I'm a retired VA employee from the Veterans Benefit Administration, and I'm attending this meeting for the very first time.
Welcome, sir. Okay, thank you for that. And I would ask the people online if you would please put your phone on mute so as to limit the background noise during the meeting. Appreciate that very much. So therefore, in accordance with the Pennsylvania Consolidated Statutes, Title 51, Section 1702, subsection E, we do have a quorum in which to conduct business. And therefore, I declare this commission meeting open for the purpose of conducting business that may be brought before this body. Okay, first order of business, if Ms. Constance Snavely will join Mr. Ferraro and myself up front, we're going to administer an oath of office. Please stand if you are able.
You again, I state your name. You solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and obey and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Board.
All right, we continue with the opening remarks here. First of all, Mr. Ferraro, General Weigel, general officers present, commission members, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and again, welcome to today's meeting. Hopefully you had a joyous and great holiday season and a happy new year. It's good to see you back here again, safe and sound. So thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to be here today. Just appreciate it. Let me say again, congratulations to Connie Snavely on being selected to be the representative for the Korean War veterans. And Connie told me yesterday at the War Veterans Council meeting that she has too much time on her hands, and any job that we want to give her, she's more than willing to take. So thank you very much for the funds. I'm glad to have you back. So just teasing. So if Mr. Hollerdrack, just since Connie is back on the commission, one of the things I want to do, can we make sure that she gets a bound copy of Title 51? I just want to make sure that, all the new commissioners, have that for the reference. So if you please get that to her, I would
Yes.
appreciate it, sir. Okay. Thanks very much. Okay. So on the read ahead agenda that was sent to you, it indicated that General Schindler will be here. Unfortunately, excuse me, he cannot be here. He's out of the state, actually out of the country at the moment. So we have Mr. Mark Ferrero, filling in for the general, so thanks for being here, sir. Appreciate that. Last month, we had Mr. Anthony Carey, was to be sworn in as the Commissioner of the Italian American War Veterans. And unfortunately, due to a serious health issue, he could not make it. I have been in touch with him and he is recovering, from his incident. And hopefully we will see him at next month's meeting. So, thank you for all the kind thoughts for him. Also a change in procedure this year, in the interest of time, brevity, and good government, during future commission meetings. I'm going to try to limit comments and statements, from the guests on the floor. I think that this will benefit the body so that we can continue with the business that we had to. Not that the comments from the folks, aren't important, but if you do have an issue, please let one of the commissioners or member at large, know, and they can bring the question or comment, to the floor. And thank you in advance for your understanding of this, subject to this procedure. So my activities during the time from our last meeting involved the weekly BTCs with General Weigel and the DMVA staff. My vice chair, David Isley, has continued to attend the Tuesday meetings. And again, thank you for taking the time to make sure that we brought up to speed. It is appreciated. On the 6th of November, the Catholic War Veterans co-sponsored the Veterans Day activities at the Indiantown Gap National Cemetery. And last night, I had the privilege of presenting 5 certificates to members of the Lebanon Lebanon Composite Squadron 307 at their weekly meeting. And they were certificates of appreciation to the unit and 4 certificates to the cadet people who made up the main color guard for that event. So I was pleased and privileged to recognize that, and the cadets were appreciative too, and of course that helps them in their progression and so forth. So it was very good for me to join with the YMCA last night and present those certificates. So under current operations, what we're doing, you've heard me focus before. My intent and with your collective help, I want to try and bring back the credibility of this commission so that we have one stronger voice. And ladies and gentlemen, we're well on the way to doing that. The purpose and the roles of this commission is very clear, both in legislation and in policy. And as we begin the new year and begin our deliberations with actions and objectives, I just want to make sure that we have this, also keeping in mind that a basic human respect for our veterans and for each other is paramount in how we do business. So I'm proud to say that over this past year and a half, we've made great progress, and now we enjoy, as I said before, the full confidence of DMVA and the staff. Thank you very much for for your participation and your help. We've achieved something very good, and I look forward to continuing. I don't want the commission to be distracted from our duty to represent the veterans as much as we can. We certainly can't do this as a standalone organization, and I'm excited that we have another year to try to do some good things for the benefit of all of our veterans and their families in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And one of my goals this year for the commission is to make sure that we come to consensus on a lot of the things that we do, if not downright agreement. And the actions that we take collectively need to be for the highest good of all, and we need to do things legally, morally, and ethically. So I just want to remind you of our sworn duty to do just that, and look forward to working with you. And again, this is not, I just want to make sure that everybody is clear, and thank you for the time and everything that you do for this commission and the organizations that you represent. It really is amazing that we have the great people with the time and the intelligence to do what we do. Again, this year, I want to take on the issues of veteran suicide, transportation issues, homelessness as the key things that I'd like to concentrate on. And in closing, again, look forward to the opportunities for this coming year. Again, I'm very excited to be a part of this commission and working side by side with you all to make sure that we continue, what we started. Well, we're not looking back, we're looking forward, and we're trying to address as many real-time issues as we can, do the right thing. And your suggestions and input in terms of goals and objectives, and I'll talk about that a little more later, is needed and certainly appreciated. So we certainly want to do the best that we can for the veterans in Pennsylvania. Why? Because they deserve it. Thank you very much. Any questions for me? All right. If not, at this time, it's my pleasure to call upon Mr. Mark Ferrero, who's representing Major General Schindler this morning, for his opening remarks. Good morning, sir.
Morning, thank you. First of all, on behalf of General Schindler, Happy New Year to everybody, and we hope everybody had a festive and safe holiday with family and loved ones. General Schindler is currently traveling overseas in visiting the 28th Division, who's deployed throughout the area of operations in Central Command. He was supposed to go right after Christmas, but he came down with COVID. Okay. So he had to reschedule his trip to this week, and he'll be back on Sunday. So unfortunately, you're stuck with me. Just some activity since the last meeting. General Schindler was able to get out to 4 of the 6 homes last month to visit with veterans and the workers out at the homes. Weather prohibited him from getting out to was Southwest and Erie, or was it Hollisburg area. So when he gets back, he's going to get back out or get out there to visit those homes. And then upcoming, obviously, the big event we got coming up is on 12 January. We have Military Veterans and Family Day at the Pennsylvania Farm Show. So we encourage you to get your members out to the farm show because they have some good events out there set up for the military, their family, and their veterans. From the military perspective here in DMVA, we currently have about 1,000 airmen and soldiers deployed throughout the Central Command area of operation and other areas within Europe. We do have 1 brigade that's actually here in the United States on the Southwest border as well. And they're performing a myriad of missions in support of those combatant commanders. And then we'll have more, obviously, deployments come up during the year as units come and go. We'll have a couple units going out to AFRICOM this year as well as Europe. I guess the big thing right now that everybody's probably curious about is in 11 days, we have a new administration starting. So if I just sit tight, there'll be some announcements here in the next, probably early next week, as to what the leadership will look like at DMVA and throughout the administration. But, take a look outside, what you see today, I think you'll see in the future, scenery. So there will be some formal announcements next week. But rest assured, we will communicate with everybody any changes that come about as soon as we're allowed to. And then with that, as the new administration gets seated, obviously we will meet with them and talk to them about the governor's priorities and objectives, talk to him about, and the administration about what we've been working on. One is a department with the commission over the last few years. And we've already put all that together within a transition brief to the transition team. But as we get to sit down and meet with them, we will communicate that to them and then communicate that with the commission and say this is what the governor's objectives are for the years when it comes time to veterans. So just sit tight and, give us a couple of weeks and we'll see how the dust settles. Anybody have any questions of me? Again, Happy New Year and look forward to working together in 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, moving along, at this time, I will entertain a motion for the approval of the 2 December 2022 meeting minutes. Motion made by David Isley, County Directors.
Second.
Second by Bob Heister, MOAA. Discussion on the motion. And nothing heard. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Minutes are approved. Thank you very much. All right, next on the agenda, reading of official and other communications. In between the meeting from December and today's meeting, I had only one communication, and that was from our legislative committee. And it was a draft letter that was to be sent to the commissioners, but I asked Mr. Jackson, not to send it because it needs some review. The legislative committee drafted a 4 or 5 page memo that talked about some goals and objectives and some processes and procedure. Unfortunately, I agree with some of what was written in the memo in terms of getting the commissioners' inputs and especially the inputs from the organizations that you represent. I know the American Legion is very, very vocal and very and widely publicized about its commitments to homeless veterans and so forth. And you see that on our national website, you see that on the state website. So one of the things that we want to do as a commission is, again, get your input from the organizations that you represent. What is important to you? And that's what we want to try and focus on. However, in reading through what the committee put forward, I think that the committee and this commission is a little far apart on what the vision and the true goals and objectives are. So therefore, what I want to do is for right now, suspend the activities of the legislative committee. Again, you heard Mr. Ferraro say that we have a new administration coming. We need to receive guidance on what the governor thinks the goals and objectives should be. So until we get a clearer understanding, again, I'm going to suspend the activities of the legislative committee. And let's make sure that we're not changing, goals in midstream. Let's get a clear understanding of what the future looks like, and we will then, tailor those goals, to that. So I do want to just let everybody know that, and we'll be talking about that, with the committee and with other committees, as Mr. Ferraro indicated, probably within the next 2 weeks or so, once we receive some definitive guidance. But other than that, that was really the only official communication that I have received between meetings. I'm not aware of anything else that might be received at the end today. Thank you. Okay. All right. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to General Weigel for her opening remarks. Good morning.
Great, thank you. So as I mentioned yesterday, I'm going to pass the mic over to the team to give you an in-depth update from their sections. But before I do, I just want to acknowledge publicly Mr. Tim Lizard, who's here in the room. He represents Busy 4, and I just want to let you know, I mentioned to all of you that we passed the Del Valley Recognition Survey, which is huge for us. And we get to take care of 41 more veterans and place them in our homes. And he was a huge advocate. There's some regulatory issues with the policies and the way surveys are conducted that made it very challenging for us, but he jumped in and he was a huge advocate on our behalf. Additionally, when he and I sat down with Senator Casey and the Deputy Secretary of the VA out in Pittsburgh, we listened to many grievances and issues that veterans had. They had a round table and everyone was very open. And among those discussions, we found that many of the veterans don't understand all of their federal and state benefits that are available to them, and many didn't know where to find help. So Mr. Lizard and Dave from Vision 4 that's on the phone jumped in with our team and has agreed to really make sure we provide all the data and information at the medical facilities across the Commonwealth. So everyone understands PA Vet Connect, they know Pedophone County Directors, they know all about all of your organizations. So he's really helping us synchronize the message. So I just want to publicly say thank you, Tim, for all of that. At this time, Woody's going to start. He's going to make some opening PPO comments, and I'll turn it over to Travis and Joel. Thank you.
As Michael Woody, as
Mark Ferraro, Mr. Ferraro, mentioned that we're at a reset, legislative reset. So there are a lot of initiatives and objectives that are being, retabled from the last administration. And so it's gonna take a little time. Right now, in the next 90 days, you're responding to some requests from, Harrisburg, and then, you definitely need to get the pros and cons of some of the upcoming and the present issues that we have right now. So as Mr. Farrow and General Weigel said, there's a little bit of time that we have to get everything out and published before we start. And we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Man, before we do that, Mike, just a question, Nick Taylor, Chairman. Do you think that it would be within the realm of possibility to have a listing of the various committees, both in the House and the Senate, for the read ahead prior to the February meeting? Do you think that the legislature will have the leadership and committee assignments figured out within the next couple of weeks? Okay, Mr. Silcox, Dave, what do you think?
Told me to put your boss name on that.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair. In terms of the Senate, at least, I'm expecting that the committee chairs and membership will be right across the desk this afternoon at 3 o'clock, is when we're coming to session. So stay tuned at that point. I can't make any announcements this point in terms of the Veterans Affairs Committee yet, but at least in terms of the Senate, that's where it stands. I can't speak for the House at this point. They're a little bit more fluid right now, but at least top leadership posts are settled on.
Okay, very good. I would ask, PBL if we could get some sort of a read ahead document, to the commissioners prior to whatever we may have, understanding that there may be future changes, but I think that'll be important for us to know who's the face of the place, so to speak.
Whatever you need.
Thank you so much. Okay. And again, for those folks on the phone, just a reminder, if you're not talking, if you would please put your phone on mute. Thank you so very much. Sorry, Nick. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year to the commission members. As Mr. Farrar mentioned, we just came off a great holiday season with General Schindler. The visits went really well. For the first time in 2 years, it felt like we were back to normal in our veterans homes. We had veterans breakfast, we had dinners, we had family members coming in, breaking bread with us. We had a lot of smiles on the face, and we were able to do it really safely. Right now across the homes, excuse me for my notes, but we have 22 residents positive for COVID. That's about just under 2.5% of our total population. So the COVID numbers are doing really well. Our residents are all stable and safe. We have 3 active flu cases among our residents. 19 staff members out currently with COVID. So numbers are good. As we know, these numbers tend to, follow the community transmission rates, but overall, coming out of the holiday, we're looking in a good position here. Our CMS centers, Medicare and Medicaid survey ratings, 5-star ratings that we hear about. We have 2 facilities, Delaware Valley and Pennsylvania Sailors and Soldiers Home up in Erie at 5-star facilities. We have Gino Merley and Scranton, Southeastern Veterans Center and Southwestern at the 4-star. And we have Hollidaysburg at a 3-star facility. Surveys, as General Weigel mentioned, the Delaware Valley Recognition Survey was passed on December 16th. And we've begun taking admissions on that unit. Again, there's 41 beds. We all know that we have waiting lists. On a positive note, we have the staff in place to fill those 41 beds. So it's going to be a tremendous relief, and we have a demand and a need in that area with veterans waiting for placement. So we're moving those admissions as quickly as possible. Upcoming surveys for the first quarter, we have VA annual surveys at Gino Merley, at Erie, and at Southeast Veterans Center. And we have the Department of Human Service annual at Erie. So those are our planned scheduled surveys, although we can see surveyors come in our buildings at any day. Census right now, we have dipped a little bit. We're at 915, at about 62% occupancy overall. Although we're taking admissions at all of our buildings right now, we have had a decrease in census for some residents who have expired. And this time of year is a tough one for the long-term care. We tend to see those numbers spike a bit, non-COVID related deaths. But we've stepped up our admissions, and we're taking more and more as the year went on. Our goal this year was to hit 70%, so we're a little bit below, but I do believe that we will hit that this year. Recruitment. So recruitment, we still have a lot of vacancies amongst our homes. We kicked off an initiative, we touched about this last month, called Walk-in Wednesday. We've seen some really early success off this. We've seen higher numbers of people coming in unplanned on Walk-in Wednesday than we have at any of our job fairs from the last year. So we're hoping that momentum stays up. We're doing some things internally to promote that. I know Tom Cherry's going to join me out at one of our facilities this month, and we're going to do some clips with some of our current employees, because we believe that they're one of the strongest referral sources to get employees into our doors. So we're going to continue pushing that initiative. But so far, that's been an early success. Construction updates. So our two big capital projects, Hollidaysburg, the new construction of the 200-bed nursing facility. So we're in kind of the unofficial bid stage right now. Official bids will be within the next 2 weeks. We're actually a little bit under budget from what we expected. We're around 77.1 million, so that's 2.9 million under where we thought we would be at this stage of the game. That construction start date is still anticipated to begin in May, and it's about a 2-year project. The next major capital project we had was up in Erie. We're about 92% complete with that. That kind of spread out across the whole campus. Right now, the nursing side of that campus is complete. So we had a renovated dining area, renovated therapy space. That's all completed. We passed all of our Department of Health surveys, and our residents are using that space. It's really beautiful, the work that they've done. Where we're at right now is the flooring project over in the personal care side. We kind of keep running into little issues. It's an old building, but we're still moving through that. We're slightly delayed, but again, we're about 92% completion on that project. Those are my major updates. I'll pause to see if there's any questions from the commission.
Hey, Travis, Nick Taylor. As you recall, I think it was very beneficial, and most everybody was here in the room. A few months ago, we had the commandants from the homes come and give us a report. And at that time, I asked them, what can we as a commission do for you? And I think the consensus between the commandants from the homes was, please continue to support us as you have in the past. So my question to you is, as we look forward to 2023, I'm going to give you a little bit of a homework assignment. What do you need from this commission to support the Bureau of Veterans Homes? You don't have to answer me now, but if you can think of something that we as a commission can do to assist you, please let me know. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'll give you a quick update on PA Connect. So we've got about over 60,500 connections that we've made so far with that program across the life of the program. We're over 1,900 resources currently with PA Connect. Additionally, before your next commission meeting, we will roll out a new PA Connect system. And so when we head out to the VNVA website and click on PA Connect, that will be up and running. From the visual of it, it will not look much different from what it does today. Meaning we want to keep the look of it the same based upon the focus groups that we did as we implemented the program. But rest assured that it is a miles ahead of where we currently are with the system. Additionally, within by the end of this month, so in February, we'll roll out the EIS mapping tool. So we've heard General Lyle say quite often about the zip code being able to pop it in and locate resources around your home or whatever location you may be at. That will be online here in this first quarter. So we're very excited about where we're at with PA Connect on the technology side, but even more happy with where we're at based on folks that we get out to continue to build relationships and making things happen. So happy to report to you, will be full staff, so about 15 staff members across the Commonwealth here within the next month or so. The 10 are currently in place, and then we're in the process of hiring the remaining 5. So very excited about what the future holds for that event. PAC Act, as you know, a lot of things going on that front. Just to encourage you all to stay in touch with us. Also check out va.gov/PAC. That's a great resource to stay fully engaged and in touch with what's happening with PAC Act and now we're taking the feds are taking those applications.
ETF, grants. Applications are due the 19th of January, or BSA grant program applications are due by the 15th of January. I'd also like to just reiterate what you briefed last month related to the monthly amount for pre-tax. So effective the 1st of January, that new income limit amount is $100,046. So we push that information out across all of the channels to ensure that we are well aware of that change in something. Also like to give a great shout out to Mr. Lazard and his team. As we've been working with Visit 4, whether it's with the nails that were done last year, being over 530,000 veterans across the Commonwealth, to just yesterday, some meeting for me to brief up the outreach team, the full outreach team on Building 4 on what our capabilities are. Just a truly great relationship, and we really appreciate the work that Mr. Lazard and Mr. Calville are doing, and also another pro shout out to him as well. Just with a great effort, Lebanon has been helping us along the way. Finally, I mentioned the functions, before I mentioned that one, that come out to see us at space 2208. Our outreach van will be out there with all of our staff throughout the week. And then the Pennsylvania National Guard folks will be at 2215. And then also very exciting this year at space 2310 here in the China Expo Center, we'll have a World War II display, which is going to be commemorating the Forest role in World War II. So very excited about that historical event, that recognizing those historical events. Have this year's farm show, of course, the big map. You see a stop there, which should pin on the map. Video farm show. That's all I have. Any other questions before I turn it back to the chairman for vote on the programs and reports? Any questions for Joel? Yeah, nothing heard. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to accept the reports as presented. Randall McDonald Ambets makes the motion. Is there a second? David Isley, Vice Chair, second. Discussion or questions on the reports presented? Heard. All those for approval signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? All abstain? Motion carries. The reports are approved. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to turn the floor over to Mr. Tim Lazard for Division 4.
Chairman, and happy New Year, everybody. And with every new year brings opportunities and possibilities. So I'm excited about what we might accomplish in 2023. The read ahead, just to highlight some thoughts. First of all, personnel assignments. Derek Hoffner is now appointed as the director at the Altoona Jones E. Van Zandt at VA Medical Center. And Derek was formerly the associate director there, and he started was sworn in this last Tuesday. So he was on the job and transitioning in. Carl Parrish, the CFO, Chief Financial Officer at Van Zandt, is currently detailed to the acting associate director. And a change from the read ahead, Tanine Allen has been appointed as the associate director at the Pittsburgh VAMC. And she is on board and transitioning into the role. I'd like to highlight another resource for you, the VA App Store. There are mobile apps that are available, and the categories include top provider apps, top mental health apps, and top veteran apps. And the link in that is in the read ahead, but it's mobile.va.gov/app store. Public service announcement on COVID. If you have not received your booster yet, please feel free to do so. What we're finding is that it covers the latest variants, BA5, BQ1, and 1.1. It's very effective in protecting you against those variants. Likewise with the flu is still out there and about. it's not too late to get a flu shot, and you can learn more about that at the website www.prevention.va.gov/flu. We are concerned with the post-holiday spike. We are observing a little bit of a surge. As of this morning, most of our EDs were full, and we are managing that well, and the staff is responding. The next thing that we look at is the spring break surge. So getting a vaccine today is not too late to protect against specifically the spring break follow-up surge. We've been spending a lot of time about PACT Act, and really appreciate the partnership with the Commonwealth and getting the word out. You've heard some great projects through PennDOT and the PA Vet Connect program. The big concern that we have is getting the word out. Too often we hear about veterans not knowing about the benefit. I recently met a 99-year-old veteran who attended actually one of our PACT Act outreach. And for years, he did not enroll in VA because he was afraid of taking a seat from somebody else. And he engaged 2 years ago, and now at the spry age of 101, and he looks great. He is now an advocate of all the great things that VA Health does. So please, as you become aware, please help us get the word out on the PACT Act. If anybody has been exposed, please have them exposed to environmental hazards as a part of their deployment. It's now it's the time to contact your local VA and get enrolled. I'd like to say also thank you for those that advocated for the new PACT Act bill. The unique thing about the PACT Act bill is there's no competition between the direct care budget and the toxic exposure fund, meaning that there's a separate earmark for the toxic exposure fund that does not conflict with the direct care. So thank you for your advocacy on that, and we're very thankful for your help. We continue to focus on the patient experience update, and we just like to take a moment to brag, and this is a team sport as well, and your advocacy certainly helps here, but number 4 was rated at 93% in our total trust score with veterans. It's the second highest in the country, and normally we're oscillating between 1 and 2 in terms of first or second place. Top compliments in the last quarter were quality of care, cleanliness of facility, satisfaction with specialty care, and interactions with staff. So we're very pleased on that, but we're not going to rest there. We're going to continue working hard on that. There is an extensive update in the read ahead regarding caregiver support. It's broken down into kind of 3 lanes of effort. The first lane of effort is really providing great resources for caregivers. There's a number of events that were held over the last quarter, just assisting caregivers in that regard. And the program itself, the highlights are that we announced it's extending the amount of time that legacy participants and their family caregivers within will remain eligible for the program. That has been extended through September 30, 2025. And all annual assessments have been suspended as a top to bottom review of that eligibility program gets reviewed. And I have not heard an update on the timeline for that review to be completed, but until then, the reassessments being suspended. And the third line of effort is really, again, program for general caregiver support services. We're continuing to develop, implement, and enhance the services for our caregivers. One of the things we observed through, and this is kind of the overarching thing through the pandemic, is access to healthcare changed through the pandemic. It changed from a point in time and place to anytime, anywhere, and we're moving toward that target of providing access anytime, anywhere. Certainly, if a veteran wants to have a personal face-to-face visit with a provider, that is an option as always. But the new additions now are virtual appointments. And, if weather's impacting the trip in or transportation's a barrier in, a significant amount of healthcare can be received virtually. The latest program of this is now MyVA Image. Patients can now use MyVA Images app to share photos and videos with their providers to assist with their care. The MyVA Images allows providers to request photos and videos directly from their patients. This app will guide patients through taking required photos and or videos and remind them when the images are due. It's a secure web application that protects patient information from the upload through submission. And this application can be used when providers want to see a new rash or to evaluate the use of equipment sent to home to support rehabilitation. Patients can use a smartphone or a personal computer to avoid the travel wait times and while receiving expert health anywhere, anytime. There's an update on secure messaging also included regarding My Healthy Vet. I'll leave that to read independently. And just like to conclude with just echoing the thanks earlier, the collaboration between the general and laboratory remains strong, and we've really accomplished a lot in the last year, and I look forward to the possibilities of this year. Thank you, gentlemen. Tim, great report, and congratulations on achieving number 2. That's a great score. So please keep up the good work, and thank you for all the good work that you and your organization does. It means a lot. I have questions for Mr. Lazare. Any questions? Okay, nothing heard. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Okay, moving right along, we will go into the committee reports. A little bit of a change to the training schedule here. Mr. Booker had asked me if he could go first because we want to have some discussion about the Constitution and bylaws document. So, Michael, your request is approved. So you're going to lead us off today. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, the Marines are always first to fight. Good morning. I'm excited to report on the progress that the Governance Committee has made in our work to date. Before I start, however, I would like to thank on the record fellow committee member Rich Adzinski and our DMVA advisor Rick Camp for their efforts in this process. Their insights, hard work, and support have been invaluable. Well, this morning we'll discuss our deliverables. I wanted to begin by going back to our May 2022 appointment memorandum to restate purpose of the committee was to establish a set of operating instructions for meetings, committee procedures and responsibilities, reporting, and general administrative matters regarding the commission. In our work, the committee utilized the April 2019 bylaws as a starting point for review, and our intent was to produce a new document that would be approved by the commission and the DMVA. We also wanted to create a document that would serve as a general introduction to how the commission operates, its powers and responsibilities, and its limitations. This document is the operating procedures, which will serve as a primer, so to speak. We plan to have the operating procedures to the commission for review during the next meeting in February. Taking the approach of small bites rather than a full meal, our hope is today that we will receive your questions, comments, suggestions during our discussion on the draft bylaws so that any changes, improvements can be incorporated into both documents. I wanted to thank OGC Pettis for the comments and changes suggested by DMVA, which the committee received yesterday to the draft bylaws, especially in Article 5 pertaining to conflict of interest, code of ethics, and the oath of office. Mr. Chairman, I request we open the floor for thoughtful discussion from the commission, and I look forward to their input.
Michael, first of all, thank you. I know that you and the committee worked very hard. It's been a work in progress over the last few months. So I hope that everybody had the chance to take a look at the read ahead that was provided. So I will open the floor at this time for any discussion, questions, comments that you may have for the commission, and specifically for the committee under Michael Brooker. Questions, comments, thoughts, suggestions? Nobody? Look at that, you took time and produced a great document. Nobody has anything to say about it, so we'll take silence as approval. So, Michael, what's the intent? The intent is to keep it open for a month and vote on it at the next meeting? Is that the intent at this point?
Yes. Our intent would be, we will continue to refine the bylaws. We think that we are very close on that. We're, as I discussed with you earlier, we're in the red zone. And we'll bring those, the final, we'll go from draft to a proposed document that the commission can approve. And then we are still crafting the operating procedures and intend to share those shortly with the commission for their review, so that we can take those documents or take that document and then also bring that forward for review. Our proposed timeline would be that hopefully in February that can be accomplished.
Okay, thank you, sir. Once again, for the folks on the phone, if you are not talking, please, there's some conversation in the background. Please put your phone on mute if you're not talking. Please put your phone on mute if you're not talking. Thank you very much. So the intent is, just if the commissioners will please take a note, one of the agenda items for the next meeting will be a vote on the proposed constitutional bylaws. Michael?
And Mr. Chairman, if people would have time to continue their review or have suggestions, they can email myself or Mr. Zizinski their recommendations, suggestions for improvement, and we will take a look at those. Doesn't have to be today. If you have something, there are several members who are absent, so if they would have comments or suggestions, we would be open to receive those.
Okay, so just as a comment, let's not leave it open-ended because, you know, this could be something that we could continue and continue. If it's okay with you, how about if we establish a suspense date of maybe 2 weeks from today? If you have any further suggestions, not later than the 20th. 2 weeks from today. If not, the document that you see, you know, in front will go forward for a vote because, again, I kind of like to put a date on it and not just keep it open-ended because we could do this all the time. But, you know, again, thank you for the hard work. Yes, sir. Mr. Dave Brady.
Dave Brady, Marine Corps League. The question I had relates to that. What is the current procedure for amendments? Must they sit in front of us for 15 days, as it says here, or is there another timeline for that? And will the 20th be able to meet that for the February meeting?
All right, so let me try and answer that if I can. So first of all, this is not passed yet. The 15 days is just a suggestion at this time. We're keeping it open for, 14 days because again, I don't want to have the commission members, well, this is version 2, this is version 3, and so forth and so on. So I think there has to be a clear, definitive end to it. Once these bylaws, and I'm being positive about it, once the bylaws, are passed, that 15-day rule will go into effect. So that's the way that I read it, Michael. Is that correct? Is that the intent of the committee?
I think that would work in this case.
Dave, does that answer your question, sir?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
I think what you're getting at is what did the current bylaws say?
Yeah, that was my question. Current bylaws, what's in there? Because I think you started out by saying this is a revision from April 2019. So, and I haven't seen those previous bylaws. I didn't know they existed.
Oh, well, there's some discussion on that. So
Discussion either way on that.
yeah, so here's where we are right now. The whole purpose of forming this committee was to get a set of, loosely called, bylaws and operating instructions. General Corelli, back when he was tagged, put in writing a generic outline of the rules that the commission will follow. The chairman at the time either did not disseminate it or chose to put it aside. And although there was something written, we haven't followed it up until this point.
Okay.
The idea now going forward is that whoever sits in this chair next, whoever succeeds you, the new commissioners, they can be handed a document to say, this is how we do things, okay? And, again, we have to remember, we as a commission are an advisory body. And one of the intents is, and kind of a, implied task, let us as a commission govern ourselves. I don't want outside folks to dictate how we operate. So let's do it ourselves. And this is what that document is for. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, there is no predecessor document.
There is a document, it just has not been enforced or followed, so.
Right.
We hope to change that come next time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Additional questions or comments? Hey, Rich?
Can I make a suggestion on the voting, because we don't have, bylaws to follow right now? That we present next meeting, hopefully, final draft, together with the operating instructions, so that you can get an idea of, maybe a discussion on what should be in the operating instructions versus bylaws, that might come up. And then the following, actually vote on the draft. That'll meet anybody's requirement for like 15 days, 20, whatever.
Okay, as a commission, what do we think about that? Is that reasonable? I personally will tell you, and again, this is just my opinion. I think we have a good document. I've had the chance to read it. The intent was, as I asked earlier, to have February as the voting date, but what is the will of this commission? What do you all think? Bill, Larry?
Mr. Chairman, I don't mind pressing people Rich.
What is the purpose in doing what you're suggesting?
There will be.
There may be changes to the bylaws, between now and when we submit it. The other thing is there may be some discussion about what should be in the operating procedures versus the bylaws and vice versa.
Why delaying the vote?
It might affect the, a change to the bylaws.
I personally see them as two separate events, two separate documents. And I don't personally understand the reason to delay a vote on the bylaws. That no one here had any objection to what's written now. There was a suggestion to wait 2 weeks.
There are some changes.
There are changes currently.
One example, which I pointed out, Michael Brooker, Governance Committee Chair, was that yesterday we received comments and suggestions from DMVA that aren't incorporated in the document that you have before you. We haven't had the time to put those in yet. So the bylaws themselves are still fluid. As I said, we're in the red zone. We're probably at the 5 on the bylaws, but for the operating procedures, those, as we get your comments, we're hoping, we're a team of 2, and the commission has, I think, and we're close to the process. The suggestions and the views of the commission, I think, would be very important to make it a better, not better, but a more thorough or complete document. And that's what we look forward to having discussion next month. That possibly didn't occur. What we're having now is very good for us as a committee to hear your feedback.
All right, so as I understand, but it isn't all yet complete. What we have and what we understand. So that's the reason that we want another.
Right, and there are policy issues, in that discussion.
I understand. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Woody, did you have a comment? Did you want to say something?
Thanks.
Okay, all right. So let me see if I can recap this. So the deliverable will be that, by the read it. So first of all, If there are any further suggestions, please give them to Mr. Brooker by the 20th of this month. At the February meeting, that is where we are going to present our final. Tell me if I'm off pace here. And if that's the case, then we give the commissioners time to digest, and the vote is at the next meeting following February. Is that what I understand? Okay. Hold everyone? Okay, so we have it. Just wanted to recap just so that I understand. So, all right. But please, again, this document, I would rather, there's an old saying, if you want it bad, you get it bad. So I would rather take the time, make sure that we do have the buy-in and the concurrence of the NBA, rather than going back and changing this document. I do see, just from where I sit, two separate documents, Constitution and bylaws, kind of like the general guidance. The operating instruction is the day-to-day, the business rules, if you will. I believe that the Constitution and bylaws of any organization should be that detailed. It should provide the general framework. So we are talking about two different and distinct documents. So looking forward to your input and to have a final next month. So again, Michael, thank you to you and the committee for doing such a yeoman's job in doing this.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we will now continue with the regular batting order, and I'll call on Mr. Matthew Hollenbeck for his BSO Grant Committee update. Matthew?
Thanks, sir. Currently, the X66 members, as Joel mentioned earlier, we are in the final phases of our grants to turn into the MBA for our proposals for the next grant cycle. Fortunately, the committee was able to meet last month due to illnesses, scheduling conflicts, and the holidays. We will be this month, however, and have a better report come next SVC. All of our service officers within the X6 programs work day in and day out to help veterans and continue to do so with filing claims to the VA, whether compensation, pension, or appeals. We also help with state benefits and local benefits. That is my report this time.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Matthew. Let's move on to the Real Estate Tax Committee, Mr. David Isaac.
It's not with the legislative dream, we don't have anything to report.
Understandably so. Yep, thank you so much. Okay. All right, Legislative Committee, Mr. Jackson is on the line. Chuck, do you have anything in addition to talk about, or Mr. Hazinski, whoever's going to present that report, anything further, not dealing with the memo at this time?
Well, hopefully not much. At the meeting, it was announced that we were going to move to establish a new approach to legislative goals. We did that. We sent them out in great detail, and you and your chairman have, for the reasons that were enumerated, will hold them for a while until we see what the new leadership wants and needs. So that's the legislative committee report. Thank you very much. I hope everybody's having a happy New Year.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, let's move on to pensions relief and grave markers. Okay. You're using your quota, Chuck, but yes, go ahead. Yes, please. Joe.
My husband expert, and they've removed the stitches and the staples, and therefore my ankle to thigh restraining brace from my knee graft. So I'm now kind of mobile. I'm learning how to walk again. It's a lot of fun. So thank you very much. Bye.
Our kind thoughts and prayers are with you, sir, for a full and speedy recovery. Thank you. All right, let's move on to pensions relief and grave markings. Mr. Larry Goodens.
push it up. There we go. There we go. No report at this time, but I have, had a meeting this morning with the Brian and Holly, and, we have some ideas that we can pursue at the commission. So stand by. No report this time. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir. Okay. Let's move over to, women veterans and Ms. Lisa Kay.
And,
Thank you, ma'am. Mark Bayless is not with us. We have the governance committee report. And let me call upon the president of the Pennsylvania War Veterans Council, Bernie McDonald. Any report from the PWB, sir?
This time, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay, good. All right, moving right along. Unfinished business. Unfinished business. I have one item, just to refresh the commission's memory here. Last month, we had a rather extensive briefing on Chapter 5, Title 43 of the Pennsylvania Code that talks specifically to the Veterans Assistance Programs. If you recall in your read ahead, that was a huge portion of the read ahead. And I was just curious if there were any major revisions to that, or has that draft gone forward as was presented to us last month? Sorry to put you on the spot, Joe.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, no problem. So we did close out the informal comment period. We received great feedback from CCAP and some organizations that are being incorporated into the document. That will be moving forward to ERC here in the near future, or into that process. So we're still looking about basically getting through this year until we get it to get approved. Then it'll go for formal comment through the PA bulletin sometime in the next around 90 days or so. Yes, that's our hope. But it's still in the process. But no significant changes other than some great feedback from CCAP and some organizations.
We'll look forward to, when approved, the final product for everybody's information, and thank you very much. Okay, last call, unfinished business. Nothing else heard? New business. Items of new business. Once, going twice. Nothing heard. All right, Joe. You can be there.
I'm not sure if this is the order, but I do know that because the Pennsylvania War Veterans Council has received a request from Nate Silcox about what DMVA's position is on increasing the DAV of line item to 569,990 with the DAV bands. So if no one else is going to bring that up, it would be appropriate to ask us to ask DMVA if that's in their budget request. And also, is it in their budget request for an Act 66 funding increase? Okay.
Chuck, let me see if I can talk to that just a little bit. As you are aware, we have a transportation committee currently in place with one member revision. And that's one of the things that I have asked the transportation committee to look into. Right now, the appointed advisor to that committee is Mr. Joel Muchler. And more to follow on that, in future meetings. But I'd like for the committee to at least, get together. They'll come up with a recommendation, and of course, with the MBA interface. So.
From the budget perspective, the guidance from downtown is there are no new requests for an increase in your budget because of the new turnover administration. So any new programs, we were not allowed to request in this year's budget. But we were allowed to submit PRRs that the new administration will review. So we did submit some PRRs. Remember, we are under a 3-year build to increase to 17 new VSOs. So we will receive that money in our state fiscal year 23-24 budget to add those additional, I think next year's another 5, 6 or 7. So we will get that in the budget, and we will get it again in the following year to get us to the 17 number that we requested in last year's budget in that PRR. But right now, there are no new requests allowed to be asked for in the budget cycle. The governor normally releases his budget the first Tuesday of February. Because it's an election year, that will now shift to the first Tuesday in March. To give the new team time to sit down with the departments and say, okay, what are your priorities? What do you need? And that time, we hope we'll be able to introduce any new things that we have on the table sitting on hold.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Chuck, does that answer your question?
And he can elaborate on that. I think what they're looking forward to is planning, not actuality. So anyhow, yeah, thank you very much.
Nate, if you tell me what you want, I can give it to you.
Yeah, I was, yesterday with the Pennsylvania War Veterans Council at the meeting, Bob Gray, legislative chair, mentioned, the funding for the DAV program, and I simply followed up with him to, I know that this was a priority of the PA War Veterans Council, last session, and suggested that if it's still a priority in the new session, that you dust off that letter, get ready to write it again, and simply ask where things stood with the interaction with the department on that front. So that's all I was asking. Thank you.
Roger, Nate, thank you so much. Okay,
David Guy, asking for the DAV.
microphone's coming your way.
Okay.
David Guy, adjutant for the DAV. We appreciate the support and the request for the increase in funding for the bands. Because that is a critical part of, helping the veterans, getting them to appointments and things like that. But we also will be reviewing the current fleet that we have. There are a number of vehicles that probably should not be in service. So, that's the big thing.
There needs to be a review of the entire.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
We say we're gonna put more money into it.
Yeah, and we understand with the freeze on the additional requests, but we still appreciate this sort of push for that.
I think everybody's on the same sheet.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments, sir. Okay. Any other items of new business? Okay, nothing heard. Good of the order. Do you have anything for the good of the order? Okay. Commandant Brady.
I posed this question yesterday at the War Veterans Council, and I'm hoping for guidance from this body as well. With the inauguration coming up on the 17th, are we expected to attend? Are we invited to attend? Are we required to attend? Can anybody offer guidance? I wasn't in this seat 4 years ago, so I have no idea.
As far as I know, there's no expectation for anybody to attend, but we strongly encourage you to attend as an opportunity to get yourselves in front of the new administration as your organizations. And then what we want to do is we get contacted by the transition team, when they come down to us to say, okay, give us an in brief on what your department does. That's when we'll invite Nick and whomever to come down with us. But they'll normally come here and sit down with us as we talk about what the department does. But I think it's a great opportunity for you guys to get out there and meet all the, there's been a big changeover in the legislature, obviously. And, a whole new team up in the governor's office. They've already announced who the deputy chiefs of staff are going to be, the budget secretary, the policy secretary. Yesterday they made the first cabinet announcement for the secretary of state. So I think it'd be a great opportunity to get out there with your colors and
Meet everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Any other items for good of the order? Okay. I have one. I'd like to give a shout out to Commander McDonald and the AMVETS. A couple of weeks ago, I attended the funeral of a very close personal friend up in the Pittston area, a lady by the name of Linda Morris, who died unexpectedly from a heart attack or heart failure. The honor guard that was there from the AMVETS to conduct the ceremony for this veteran was first class. You had about half a dozen or more folks there, very professional, firing squad outside that could be heard inside the home. And it's always nice to have, the 3 shell casings, Rudy Honor Country, presented to the next of kin. So shout out to the AMVETS of the greater Pittston area. Commander, well done. Thank you. Any other items for good of the order? Okay. Agenda items for next meeting, as we discussed, the top topic would be the vote on the changes coming in to the bylaws. And if there is anything else, you'll see that in the read ahead that Greg will publish in the next 3 weeks for the upcoming meeting. And our next meeting, as you see on the agenda here, will be Friday, February 3rd, 10 a.m. right here at Fort Indian Town Gap. At this time, I have no closing remarks. Last chance. Any alibis, any questions, concerns? Anything that we need to discuss in this forum that we have not so far? Nothing heard. At this time, I would ask you to please stand for the retirement of the color. Gentlemen, with the flag of our nation currently posted, and salute. 2. Ladies, once again, thank you for attending today's meeting. Happy and joyous New Year. I now declare this meeting adjourned.